Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. My name is Paul Johnson. I'm an Oracle licensing consultant with Certero. And this afternoon, I'm going to take you through the principles of Java licensing and how it affects version 17, because the licensing rules are going to be changing. Just an introduction to myself, Paul Johnson. I've been working with Java for probably the last just about 5 years. Oracle licensing, about 15 years, and software asset management for 25 plus years. And I'm also FinOps certified practitioner. So hopefully what I'm going to be able to bring to the table today is some of the experience I've got from Oracle Java, what you can do, how you can begin to reduce some of your exposure and risks. And the takeaway from here is for you to be empowered to understand how it all works. So I'm going to take you through Java licensing models, then we're going to drill down into Java version 17, through purchasing models and licensing models and everything else, and then around the subscriptions on the 23rd of January. So the session will take approximately 35 minutes, and I will be discussing obviously the points on the agenda. And what we'd obviously ask is if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll deal with those afterwards. So first, just to walk you through the journey of Java. Oracle have not owned Java all its life. Basically, it started with Sun Microsystems in 2010, and from 1995 through to 2010. And Sun Microsystems was a hardware company. They had Java. That was the only software that was with the company. And then in 2010, when Oracle acquired Sun Microsystems, the idea was to try and put their software on their hardware. And Oracle therefore got hold of Java, and the first iterations came out under the BCL license, the binary code license. Before that, it was under general public license. So as you can see, as Oracle got it, they put it under a more restrictive license. 2018, what Oracle did was to update the BCL agreement, which made it more permissive and customers could actually do more with it because of how it had moved forward. 2019 is where they brought in the Oracle Technology Network License Agreement, and they also expired the perpetual licensing model in a favor of a subscription. And this is where it all changed, because under the BCL license, a lot of people would not actually have to go and pay for anything. However, under the OTN license, this is where they allowed you to use it free of charge in development testing environments, but not in production. And this is where all the problems began to start, and Oracle began to charge for the use of Java. We jump forward to 2021, and I think Oracle were really realizing that charging for Java was not really the most thought out thing. So what they did was, rather than going back to the BCL, they brought out what they call the no fees terms and conditions, or which is known as the NFTC. And basically that is exactly the same as BCL, in that if you were using it internally to support your business operations, you wouldn't actually pay for it. Whereas BCL covered a whole load, they started to put a few nuances in with the NFTC, and this is where version 17 has now caught up with it, and some changes that I'll go through shortly with you. And in 2023, what Oracle also did was to replace the existing subscription model with an employee-based subscription licensing model. And for a lot of people, that meant that what they would owe Oracle would actually sort of rise, and we could see sometimes that could be up to about 15 times the cost under the original subscription model. So what makes Oracle Java chargeable? Well, there are times when you think it's not chargeable, but it can be, and I'm going to take you through some of those now. So under the old terms, if you have the binary code license, the BCL license, it's easy to say, as I said earlier, for internal business operations, it would be non-chargeable. However, there were some gotchas, and I'm going to take you through those now. Commercial use, if you're using a version which was under the BCL license, but you're using it for commercial use, then you may need to buy a license. They also charge people for embedding licenses as well. So ISVs who were embedding Java in their products would also need to you'd have a licensing issues to go with it as well. Commercial features, and I'll come into those shortly, and these are where you could have enabled some additional functionality and it would take you from a non-chargeable to a chargeable license. And the last one in here is the bundle patch release, the BPR, and also enterprise pack. Now these are releases that came out not with the general availability or the general release, but they were actually brought out mainly for developers, so we could just see some of the incremental changes being made by Oracle prior to another release coming out. But as you can see from here, there were things that would catch people out. Okay, drill down into the first two, the commercial and embedded use. An example of where Java has been used for commercial use could be developing web applications, mobile applications, enterprise, etc. So as people were doing this, what would happen is it's not to support your internal business operations, and therefore there would be a potential that you'd have to pay. Examples of where Java is being used for embedded use: telematics units, medical devices, automation systems, and smart home devices, etc. And Java is probably one of the most embedded products globally that is embedded with stuff, and this can cause ISVs issues as well. So especially for people who are actually building some hardware, they could embed Java in it, or as we say, the commercial use up above where they're embedding it in applications that were being created. And the second two here is commercial features, of which includes Java, Mission Control, JRocket, Advanced Management Console, and also usage tracking as well. Now, what we did also see under the actual bundled patch releases was that some of the ones under version 8 under version 8, some of it would include mission control automatically, so that could become a false positive. And also, as you can see here, that the bundled patch releases and EPs, the enterprise packs for version 8 that a lot of people are still using, those could be categorized as commercial features. And there was a misunderstanding on how those happened. Java 11 is where they changed it, so they said that if you use a bundled patch release, enterprise packs, it was going to be categorized as non-chargeable, and a lot of that is because the OTN license had the Oracle Technology Network license had come out. So in production, in version 11, you're already paying for a license. But this sort of just highlights some of the areas that could automatically catch you out when you think you're not actually having to pay for Oracle Java, but unfortunately you may have to. So we're just going to run a quick audience poll at the moment, and one of the questions we sort of just want to put out there is, how many of you or your colleagues have been contacted by Oracle regarding a Oracle Java usage? And whilst you're thinking of this one, I'll just explain to you what actually happens. Is Oracle start off very friendly and looking to help the organization, which is what they always do. And the fact that they are already emailing an organization generally means that they have evidence to prove that chargeable Java has been downloaded. So they're already sniffing around, and thing is, they already have quite a bit of information to use to their advantage. Now, organizations can ignore the emails for a short period of time, but eventually Oracle will initiate communications to board level members. It's important to use this time, in between the initial communication and when the heat gets a bit hot, to understand what the usage is and sort of clean up your non-compliance. And as I say, what Oracle will do is they will have a list of versions. So if ever they do come and talk to you and you start with a conversation, they will already have probably the last three years worth of downloads that you have. Okay. Okay, so we'll come back to that one later on. So, Java audit activity. This is some of the stuff that we've been seeing, the types of organizations that are being audited. So it can be from Fortune 100, 500 companies, large, medium, small. And some of the companies that we've already been doing audit defense for have included hospitals, health authorities, local and national governments in Europe and also in America, consulting firms, software companies. And what this is beginning to show is Oracle don't really care who they go after. If they see that Oracle Java has been downloaded under the new subscription model, the universal employee one, then end of the day they potentially going to come after you. And we have been representing organizations already from 120 employees upwards. So if you've got a very small employee base, Oracle don't really stop there. And if they think they've got evidence to prove that you're using it, then at the end of the day, there's a potential they're going to come after you. And what I'd say is the more you download, the more you could probably get onto their radar. And we've also seen some organizations who already have a large spend with Oracle, and they're going after those as well. And what you can find is that if they come after you, for instance, audit defense on database or middleware, they'll just throw Java in as well. And we've seen that happen as well. So as you can see, Oracle are sort of going after anybody who they feel is going to be able to sort of give them some money. So what sort of information is actually available to Oracle? And we've seen some of the reports that they've presented to some of our customers. And this just gives you an idea of the information that they already have. So if they started a conversation with you, they'd be able to turn around to you and say, this is what we already know. So things like the domain name, the product name, that includes the version and the update, and also the release. So they can tell which build and everything else that you're actually using. They understand the platform, the OS type, what date it was downloaded, the source, things like My Oracle support via the OTN or the software delivery cloud. And they will also be able to work out whether or not your license type is binary code, the binary code license to BCL, the OTN, which is the Oracle no fees terms, and also the NFTC. So at the end of the day, they have a lot of information already, and by the time that they do actually start talking to you, they're going to be turning around and saying, here's our evidence that you have already been using it. So as you can see here, they don't care who they go after, which is probably understandable because they just see it as we can make revenue because people are misusing the licensed software. And as you can see on the purple side, on the right-hand side here, what they actually bring to the table. See, they have a lot of information to back up their claim. So we're just going to now look at the actual licensing models. And there are three that are there: the binary code license, the OTN, which is the technology network, and also the NFTC. So prior to 2018, the BCL license came in. Prior to 2019, and we had the BCL agreement. And under normal circumstances, you'd be having to buy maintenance with that, so it's perpetual license when you were actually buying, and it was really support internal business operations. There were some versions that came out, as you can see here, for version 5, 6, and 7, where maintenance was mandated, and they don't all fall into a one set of dates. So since 2019, this is where the OTN license agreement came in. And basically what it said was in test and development, i.e. where you're not getting commercial benefit from it. So this could be pre-production, QA, sandbox, etc. Then you didn't have to pay. So you could go and develop as much of it as you wanted. However, all the production and disaster recovery environments alongside the end user compute environments would require a paid for license. And what seemed to happen in 2019-ish was people went, okay, fair enough, but we just won't talk to Oracle. So Oracle had no way of knowing what people were really using, etc. So I think come 2021, when they brought out the NFTC, the no fees, they basically saw that the OTN license was hurting them, and people were beginning to go, right, we'll go off to OpenJDK, or we'll sort of just not tell Oracle anything. So they brought out the NFTC agreement in 2021. And basically, it was like going back to the BCL days where it was no cost for the purposes of developing, testing, prototyping, and you could run your applications, programs, etc. Now, basically, what they did with the NFTC license was to say that it was attached to a version, so like version 17, version 21, and will become 25 in the future, which are known as long-term releases. And as that came out, you would be able to use it free of charge until the next long-term release came out, and then there would only be a 12-month gap. And as you can see there, version 21 came out, and it actually came out last year, which is why now that version 17 is going to cause some customers some problems. So this graph here just sort of highlights all the different ways you can use it, and it's sort of like a takeaway so you can understand what you can and can't do. The BCL, the binary code license, as you can see in under the V6051 and higher, you could only use those when you are actually paying support, and that was on top of the perpetual license. The OTN kicked in with version 8.211 and above, and that's still the same. So the version 8 used to be BCL, then it became OTN, and then they sort of like brought in version 11. The first two iterations, really update 1 and 2, were under the old BCL sort of license agreement, and the version 11, 3 and onwards was under OTN. 17 came in, and this was where they introduced the NFTC, as you can see. And then the slide, the column there for version 17 update 13 is where we are actually today, where some of this is coming out as we moved from update 12 to update 13 only in a few days' time. Then update 13 is going to be under the OTN license, and this could actually make you non-compliant, whereas update 12 would be okay. So this is going to be a trend that happens. So we have this now going on with version 17, but in a couple of years' time, it'll be version 21, and a couple of years' time after that, it'll be version 25. So as any remedial work that people are doing is obviously going to be repeatable. So it just gives you a high-level view. Okay, so just understanding version 17, what we're actually looking at here is a poll done by Azul in 2024 when we actually started to look at some of the Java version usage. And surprisingly, version 17 comes out on top. So LTS in their view is long-term supported. And what you'll see there is 21 has come second because people are already realizing they've got to move from 17 to 21 in order to continue to be on a supported version. In third place is version 8 because there's still a lot of people using version 8. And I would have said that probably from a lot of the audit defense we've done is version 8 is still very heavily used. But what this slide is showing is there are a lot of people who are using version 17. And if you are today, then now is the time to sort of look to move from 17 to 21 so that you can continue to use the NFTC agreement and also have it all supported. So you don't have any security implications. But what you will see is a lot of people got off version 8 on this slide, moved to version 17 when it's free, and obviously now we've got to continue the journey. So there are two licensing models for version 17, as I touched on a minute ago, and you've got to look at which updates you're on. So updates 1 through to 12. So this would be between October 21 and September 24. What the Oracle did was say the NFTC versions would cover the initial 3 years. And it basically did the 2 years whilst it was the long-term release, i.e. version 17 or version 21, and then for a period of 12 months afterwards, after the next long-term release came out. And version 21 came out last year in October, and thus the reason why version 17 is going to move from NFTC across. Updates 1 to 12 are generally free, where you're supporting business operations in both your production and non-production environments, and that's what, of course, customers have now got used to. And it covered both servers and end-user device computers as well. So if you want to continue to stay on version 17, then you need to stay on update 12 or below for as long as you wish to use the NFT licensing principles. So if you don't move, then at the end of the day, you have to make sure you stay on update 12 or below. And this is where it becomes a bit of a headache. However, like other people have seen with version 8, over time there could be security implications because you're not actually having the latest updates installed as well. It's very similar to Oracle Java version 8, update 202 and below. Looking on the right hand side now, what the future holds for version 17, update 13 and higher. So the update 13 was released on the 16th of September for developers to do the pre-testing, and it will come under general release, I believe, on the 16th of October. So we're only sort of like a couple of days away. And at that time, your guys using version 17 updates 1 through 12 may just have a little pop-up message that comes saying, hey, there's a new update, would you like to upgrade? And if they say yes and go to update 13, you're going to find you take yourself from the NFTC license agreement to the actual OTN agreement, and that can cause problems. So where would it be actually free for update 13? When using JDK in a development environment, then it's free. And also, when you're using if you're using JRE outside of a development environment, then it would have to be licensed. And there's been a bit of a confusion of is it where it sits? Is it the version you've got? And it's a combination of both. So realistically, you're looking at JDK on the non-production environment would be free. And even if you run JRE on its own in development, Oracle would look and say that's a runtime, it's not a development, it's not the development kit with built-in JRE. So it actually applies to both the standard Java installations and also where your product is embedded within third-party application. And what we would say to organizations is where 17 update 13 is being used, but it's part of an ISV's product, then it would need to sort of check to make sure there's back-to-back licensing with Oracle. Prime example of this would be VMware up until November 22, when they paid Oracle, and then after that they had another divorce and then had not paid Oracle. So it then meant that it backed it off to the end user as well. And under the new purchasing model, the universal employee, where they've moved to, if you have one person in your company that is using, for instance, 17 update 13, then Oracle would say, we now have the right to charge you for all your users. And they changed this on the 23rd of January last year. So as we look at Java version 17, update 13 and higher, it is going to basically have the same rules that were applied to Oracle Java 8, update 2.1.1 and higher. And this is going to happen again in 2 years' time when we go to version 21, and then 2 years later when you go to version 25. So it's going to be an ongoing issue that can easily sort of like cause concern for customers. Now looking at the purchasing models. So the initial purchasing model that was there was a perpetual, very much like database. So if any of you understand the database products, then at the end of the day, a server would be potentially on processor licenses, but for Java, they would have processor licenses. And for the end user compute, it was done under the NUP, the Named User Plus. As I say, it's very, very simple. And also at that time, all the partitioning principles like VMware, hardware, software partitioning rules also applied. But the difference here is back in that day, the customer validated the requirements and bought the required licenses, from Oracle. So if you didn't talk to Oracle, Oracle got no money. I showed you earlier on some stuff for version 5, 6, and 7, and maintenance was mandatory on all licenses because they actually had this all-on, all-off principle as well. Versus the first iteration of the Java SE subscription. So this came out in April 2019 and continued until the 22nd of January 2023. Again, customers validated the requirements and brought, for their required subscription licenses, and they would go and pay Oracle. And what this really did was to sort of left it with the organization would have to go to Oracle. No one did, and therefore at the end of the day, they had a loss of revenue. So 23rd of January to last year, what they did was they moved to the universal subscription, which basically is an employee-based model where all employees, irrespective of whether or not they use Java or not, would be required to be licensed. And this is where Oracle now, when they start the soft audit, already have the evidence to prove it's been downloaded. The 2023 model takes control away from the customers on how much they pay, because Oracle will now come and tell you that you owe money. Also remember that it's dial home technology in Java, so they understand what versions are being used. And also for customers, you can't reduce the quantity you pay each year unless your employee count reduces as well. So in essence, this was a ULA, like an unlimited license agreement, but with a cap. And what we've seen is Oracle are trying to say, well, we won't charge you for the past on the condition you pay for up to the next 10 years with a committed spend, and that is causing, obviously, problems to customers. So what you have to look at here is the licensing models, the BCL, the OTN, and the NFTC, they haven't changed. It's merely the way you have to buy licenses, and that was causing a lot of confusion. So the differences between the purchasing models: before 2019, we're on perpetual. As we say, you had the SE subscription, and then to finish off, you had the universal subscription that's come in. And we found that sometimes to be up to 15 times more expensive. So buying Oracle Java after the 23rd of January 2023. So as we say, they moved from the SE to the SE universal subscription. For any organization that did not already have an active Java SE subscription, then they would only sell the SE universal subscription. There's a bit of leniency, but only until that year end for Oracle at the 31st of May 2023. As we said earlier, the licensing terms have not changed, just the way you pay. And under the SE subscription, you would tell Oracle how many processor or NUB licenses you required, and they would actually go and sell it appropriately. So under the new one, you have to pay for all employees, consultants, agency workers, irrespective of whether or not they use Oracle Java or not. And this is in the wording that they've done. So the following is going to help you understand where you may find that you're using the OTN license agreement in production. So any use of version 6, 7, and 8 above those iterations, you're going to have to pay for. Any use of Java 11, and this is from update 3 onwards, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and also 17, update 13 and higher, which is from October this year, and also 21, update 13 from 2026, and the story will continue. So this gives you an idea now. You've got more and more version update configurations you need to look at and make sure you're not using if you don't want to be paying Oracle. So just having a look now at maintainability of Oracle Java. Some people said I will leave it at version 8 update 202 because we don't want to pay Oracle. You can see there in this slide, the most recent version for update for 8 is 411. So this is about 4 months old. Security vulnerabilities since they stopped doing the freebies in January 2019, 148, and also 3,500 issues have been resolved. So people who are staying on the older updates are then also suffering because they could actually be having security implications. So this is where the NFTC works, is if you install it and then keep going from 17 to 21 to 25, you can have fully supported software as well, and you don't need to pay. So we'll just summarize now things just so that it's sort of like you can see how it's all going. Where the license under binary code, no fees, then under normal circumstances you don't have to pay. As you'll see, the binary code was before 2019, and the NFTC took over. So those two, under normal circumstances, don't cause you a problem. It is the versions that come under the OTN, the Oracle Technology Network. Any use of third-party ISV software that's embedded, then organization needs to understand who pays Oracle. Is it the ISV or is it the end user? And as the end user who's using it, it is your responsibility to make sure you're aware of that. Under the universal subscription, these are the definitions they put for an employee. As you can see, it covers a hell of a lot. So Oracle will turn around and say, we don't care how much you've been downloading. At the end of the day, this is what you're going to have to pay for. A lot of customers have already been caught out for some of this. Oracle are monitoring all the downloads of Java, including in situ upgrades, and will present that information as evidence. And as we've seen with one of our customers, they had 9.5 pages of data that was given to them when they had a friendly conversation with Oracle, and that made it a very compelling reason why Oracle felt that they were owed some money. So if you're not paying Oracle today and you're doing any upgrades or you're doing downloads, etc., then yeah, open your eyes to, there's a good chance that Oracle are going to know what's been going on, especially for the last 2 to 3 years. And also, don't ignore emails coming in from Oracle. They're not going to go away, but it does buy you time. Oracle say they want to initiate a Java discussion. They're very nice. But use this time to understand your usage and how to optimize your estate. Because if it does come to an official audit, then the date they'll work from will be when that official audit starts. And you could consider using an Oracle 3 PTV, which is the third-party tool vendors, like our product, Certero for Oracle, but there are about 8 different vendors who have products. And those products can be used to help you in an audit defense scenario. So having information that Oracle will accept is very worthwhile. And also migrating to version 21 is the best way of using the fully supported versions of Java while not having to pay. And this is where you see on that picture earlier what was happening was people were downloading 17, and suddenly version 21 is becoming more and more the favored one. And this is about customers moving from version 17, maybe update 8, 9, 10, to version 21, updates 1, 2, and 3 to get another 2 years. But do bear in mind, it's not a one-off exercise. You have to be doing it every couple of years. Okay, so we're just going to do a quick second audience poll, and the question here is, how many of you would understand your Java usage or downloads, and would you know if you were compliant? Because when the conversations start with Oracle and they suddenly put a piece of paper in front of you that says, here's our evidence, it does sort of hit some customers because they didn't even know they'd actually been downloading those sort of versions. Okay, so we'll come back to those polls in a second. What we're going to do now is just have a sort of 5-minute Q&A. I'll go back to my facilitator and see whether or not we've got any messages in, and then we'll see what's happening. Cool. Okay, so we did have a couple before this session, and one of them asked, what exactly is an Oracle 3 PTV verified partner? What does that actually mean? Because they'd seen it on the Oracle website. And basically a partner is a company who can produce the data in a format that Oracle can use to validate an organization's estate. And it's merely around the data collection of the Java usage. It doesn't mean that they can actually process that data. It doesn't mean that they can give you an effective license position or any more. And what it really means is that data can be produced in the same format, irrespective of the partner, so that Oracle can actually work with it. And that data is quite important when it comes to audit defense, because this is a way that you can explain, well, actually, yes, we've got, say, 3,000 employees, but our evidence here is showing that only sort of like, 600 are using it. And we've seen with some of our customers, that's helped them to bring the cost down, because they can prove to Oracle not everybody is actually using it. So if you are going to consider looking at verifying your data, I would recommend that you use a 3PTV verified partner, because you at least know the data will be accepted by Oracle. And another question here, I do love these ones. Is it feasible to think an organization could be 100% Java compliant? Well, I guess if you don't use any and you only use OpenJDK, that may be one way of doing it. But I think this sort of follows on a little bit from what we were saying about the 3PT verified partner, because there is a way of you understanding exactly what's going on in your estate. And so products like our Certero for Oracle works on a proactive basis. You can use Snow, Flexera, and other products as well. And if you're using those products, they do have a module for Java that would do exactly probably the same as our tool as well. Put that alongside good change control and also tight controls on initial host builds. Make sure you don't have gold builds with Java baked in, etc. Controlling downloads of Oracle Java is the best way of not being under their radar, etc. And at the end of the day, it's about the maturity of how you look after what's going on the host. So at the end of the day, tight change control is very good at making sure nothing's being installed, because the only evidence Oracle will normally have is by seeing that you're actually been downloading. So at the end of the day, can you be compliant? Yes, you can, with a very good tool and also a proactive approach to looking after the way you use it. I'm not sure if we've got any more questions at the moment. No. Okay. So on the poll one, which remind me what the, I don't know what that one's. Has anybody been having conversations, or has Oracle been talking to you? Well, it's very good that no one here has said yes. People are not sure. What I would say to you is, don't be complacent. If you've got a no, that's good. But now's the time to sort of look at what you're doing and make sure that you're getting everything as clean as possible. So should Oracle knock one day, you're at least in a comfortable position. Okay, how many downloads? So this was the last one. Okay, so how many of you understand the downloads? It's good to see that people, we've got some that are saying yes. No one said no, which is very good, and the majority are saying don't know. So there's an element of we would like people to be able to get into a position where they actually do know what's coming down. And I think with the majority being don't know, that means they really don't know what information Oracle may already have on them as well. So hopefully from today, what you're going to have is a takeaway of, it is important to sort of know what you're doing. My recommendation is, get off to version 21 if you can. So you've got the security updates. You've got to proactively manage, your Java usage, because the more information that Oracle get on you, then the easier it is for them to come and start a conversation. I will ask the question whether or not we've got any more questions, and if we haven't, on time and 40 minutes, so I'm quite proud of that one. I'd like to thank you all for attending, and we look forward to continue a conversation with you in the near future. Until then, thank you very much for your time.